We are back with both Nana and Pop this time, and we are going to be talking about how they met. So, Nana, Pop, I'll let you take it away.
Well, I know how we met, Jane. I lived in a sorority house in college, and my roommate's boyfriend came over to visit her. And I was always real friendly and a little bit silly. And his name was Phil Swan, but he had really short legs, so everybody called him Penguin. But he was a nice fella, and Penguin was over visiting my roommate, and I said, Penguin was in a fraternity, and every year this fraternity had what they called the plantation ball. And I always wanted to go. I'd never been. And I said, Penguin, this year I want to go to the plantation ball. I was being kind of silly, but it was the truth. And about 30 minutes after I said that, the phone rings and some guy named Rob Shaffer wants to talk to Anna Shaffer. And I got on the phone and he asked me if I would like to go to the plantation ball with him, because Phil had gone back to the fraternity house and said, Anna Shaffer wants to go to the plantation ball. And Pop made the first phone call. And I said, well, I don't know you. I said, so I'd like to meet you first. And he said, well, let's meet at the M Bar. We went to the University of Missouri, and that was the M Bar for Mizzou.
It's like a campus hangout.
It was like a soda shop. And I guess you bought me a Coke, and I met you. And he was pretty normal, and he didn't have tattoos or anything. And I thought he was nice, and I said, well, I don't know if I told you I'd go to Plantation Ball with you right then.
No, you didn't.
I didn't
think I invited you right away.
Well, yeah, I thought you called me and asked me to, right?
Yeah.
Because you knew who I was. I didn't know who you were.
True.
And we went to the library to study together. And he was always a gentleman and very polite. So I said I'd go to Plantation Ball with him. And my mother made me a beautiful baby blue dotted
Swiss
the one in
that picture, isn't it?
Dress. No, I don't know what happened to it, but it was copied from my history book because Napoleon's wife wore a dress like this, and I loved it, and my mother made it for me. And that's how we met, and he was a gentleman at Plantation Ball. And it was the end of the school year, and I needed a ride to the airport because I lived in Pennsylvania in the Pocono Mountains, and I needed a ride to the airport, so he said he would take me to the airport. And I got on the plane, and I flew off to Pennsylvania, and he went back to his home in Missouri, and he got a job. He had graduated from college. I still had 2 more years. And he went off to Louisville, Kentucky to work for Ford Motor Company. Well, I was living in the Pocono Mountains, and I got a phone call about 6 weeks after he took me to the airport. And we chatted on the phone for a short time, and then he asked me to marry him. Over the phone, and I didn't even know him very well, and I started laughing.
I saw all I needed to see.
Well, I started laughing because honestly,
it's a real confidence builder, the laugh.
I thought maybe he had been drinking a lot of beer.
Not a lot.
And I thought he was probably being a little silly. And I laughed, and he didn't laugh back. And I said, are you serious? And he said, I am. And I said, but I don't even know you very well. Not enough to get married. And I said, but I think you're very nice, and I'll date you. So he would drive from Louisville, Kentucky to Columbia, Missouri every weekend to take me out on dates.
Every other weekend. I couldn't afford every weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay. And we dated, we wrote letters. He courted me hard and heavy. He sent me flowers all the time, got delivered to my sorority house. He sent big cards that said, I love you, and he sent candy and all kinds of stuff.
Wait, Nanny, he said you candy?
He
He's trying to poison you?
Well, I didn't know at the time.
She also had cigarettes.
Did I smoke?
Yeah, that's such a bad picture I sent.
Oh, I didn't really smoke. I pretended to smoke so I would look grown up. But if I inhaled, I got nauseated, and that's the facts.
That's what Bill Clinton said.
No, I got sick to my stomach. So we were on a date once, and he said, why do you smoke? And he said, don't do that. And I said, okay, because I couldn't stand it anyway. I looked like a baby. I looked like I was 12 years old, and I was trying to look grown up. So we dated for a year, and we were at his parents' house, and we were sitting in their family room. And
on a fine piece of furniture.
I turned to him and I said, yes. And he looked at me, and he wondered what yes meant, but he kind of knew. And then I said, yes, I'll marry you. And he got off the couch and he jumped up in the air and he went. And then the Vietnam War had started, and Pop was going to have to go into the army and go to Vietnam and fight that war. And so he would get a leave if he's in the war. The guys got a break.
Before you went to the combat zone, you got
to go to Hawaii for a break before you did the fighting. And the only way I could have joined him in Hawaii is if we were married. So we quickly got married. I had about 2 weeks to plan a wedding. We got married, we lived together for 1 month, and then he went off to go to Vietnam. And he got out to California to fly on over to Vietnam. And somebody in a group near where he was called his name, and he walked over and said, I think I heard you call my name. And that man said, well, son, these boys are all going to Heidelberg, Germany, and not Vietnam. You'll be going to Germany instead.
if you show up on time.
Yeah, and he showed up on time.
Was there fighting in Germany?
No, he
Not
just,
then.
no. And he went over, and so I had my senior year left of college. And so when I graduated, I flew over to Germany, and we lived in Europe for almost a year together, and we got to travel a lot. So it was a lot of fun. And that is the whole story.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait, didn't you tell me something about how Pop was like getting in a plane and you were like really sad or something?
Yes, it's when I took him to the airport to go to Vietnam. We had lived together for a month. My school was going to be starting up again, my senior year, and I stood there. This was back in the day when you could walk people to the plane and wave goodbye to them.
Yeah, there was no security. You just walked to the plane.
Yes. And so he got on the airplane, and the nose of the airplane was right near the window, and I stood at the window, and the tears were just rolling down my face. And the captain of the plane saw me standing there, and he said to me, come on onto the plane. He waved me on, and I came back on the airplane and found Pop on the airplane, and we hugged and kissed one more time.
I think we got cheers, didn't we?
I think we may have. Oh, but a fun part? Here's a fun part.
I think it's all been fun so far.
Well, so he went off to Germany instead of Vietnam. I did my first semester senior year, but then it was Christmas break. So I flew over to Germany and we spent 2 weeks together for my Christmas break. And we stayed in this little darling hotel and in Heidelberg. And all I could afford was a charter flight. It cost me $50 to fly round trip or just one way.
Don't remember.
It was $50 to fly to Europe on this charter plane. But where the charter planes took off was
Newark.
No, it was the other one.
JFK.
JFK Airport. And there was one terminal just for charter flights. And it
You know
was
what a charter flight is?
Mm-mm.
It's just a company rents some planes and then tries to sell it out and make money.
Okay.
It's not first class, I can tell you. And so I got on my charter plane.
Davis
and-
Travel.
Wait, and it was $50
That's
to
all
fly to Europe.
Right. Well, this was
No,
in
this was-
1969.
So that's a lot more now. But
So I, for whatever reason, I was the first one off the plane. I was the first one through custom. And there were these big metal doors that where all of the people who were meeting the people on the plane were standing on the other side of these big metal doors with little glass windows in them. And my luggage came off first. I grabbed my luggage, the doors opened, and there's a sea of people there waiting for all these folks on the plane. And I'm looking around for my new young husband, and there are tons of people. And then the doors closed, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder. He was at the front, but when the doors opened, it hit him behind the door. Then the doors closed, and he tapped, and I turned, and there he was. I dropped my suitcases. I jumped up in his arms. I squealed and held on to him and kissed and hugged, and all the people cheered. I was the only one that got through the doors, and I was the only one there, and they all cheered, and it was pretty special.
that's
It was
so
a fun
sweet.
moment. It was.
We had, I had a really good job in the Army. There still were people who couldn't find their families after the Second World War. The Russians took a lot of them to Russia concentration camps. It was really, 25 years later, they were still trying to reunite these people. And we had a little unit. It was a colonel who was just under a general, and then 2 lieutenant colonels, and a enlisted man. And that was we were just a really small unit. We had a lot of people who worked for us. Like because we were dealing with so many languages, you had to have people who could translate. Mm-hmm. And we'd get little things from the Red Cross saying so-and-so and so-and-so, do you know where this person is? And so we had this guy. There's like somebody for Germany, somebody for Belgium, somebody like that. And so Army's pretty strict, but this group wasn't very strict. So I was when I had to go but when I went to pick up Nana at the airport, usually I had to take a train to pick her up. Mm-hmm. And the colonel said, Shaffer, how are you getting to see your wife? How are you getting to Frankfurt? We're in Heidelberg, which is about an hour away. And I said, well, I'm just taking the train. He said, well, I'll pick you up. There's a guy who has a driver, and now he drove us to the airport. He made it at the airport, and now we're going to where I called a pension, where we were going to spend
It's
the
like
next,
our hotel. Did he take us to the hotel?
right to the hotel door. And he said, Shaffer, you get leave during the year. Leave is you don't have to go to work. He said, how you, how long's your leave? And I said, it's like whatever it was. He says, forget it. Just don't come to work for 2 weeks. Okay.
So it was like a honeymoon, because we really didn't have much of a honeymoon, and being in Europe and that Christmas was really, really, really romantic. The snow would fall. It was quaint. It was, Heidelberg back then was
Cold.
quaint, and well, we froze, but it was so nifty. It was so special. Yeah.
We got a lot of good breaks, but one of them was I had these guys like Mr. Populaire was from Belgium. He was in charge of all the Belgians we were looking for. Mm-hmm. And once a year, each of these people would go visit their area, whether it's Poland or wherever. And so Mr. Populaire was going to, and all these people had a parking spot reserved for them. All these people were, Mr. Populaire was going to, had to go to Belgium to check on things there. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody in his parking spot. This is how well these guys took care of me. So Mr. Populaire is gone, so I parked my car there. Not supposed to do that, but Mr. Populaire is in Belgium. So I'm sitting at my desk doing my job, and this guy who thought he was big stuff said, Shaffer, is your car in Mr. Populaire's spot? Is that your car? I said, yes, but I said, but he's in Belgium. He said, get it off the base. So I had to go move our car. And as I'm getting ready to walk out, Colonel that Colonel, the heavy, anyway, he said, where are you going? And I said, well, I've got to move my car out of Mr. Populaire's spot. He said, Mr. Populaire's in Belgium. I said, oh, okay. But he said, go sit down and get back to work. And pretty soon my phone rings, and it's a guy who thinks he's a big shot. He said, I've been thinking about it. And he said, Mr. Populaire's in Belgium. So you can park there. And it's the best job in the Army for 1 year, 11 months, and 28 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. We didn't go first class.
No, we didn't.
No, and Becky spent more in one night than we.
One afternoon for lunch than what you got a month, probably. But we didn't know any better, or any different, so.
I always have regret about learning the language. Nana wasn't over there I was by myself for a while.
About 4 months.
A little more, I think. But
yeah, well, I came across.
And lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
Learning a language.
And I could have learned the language because I worked with them. And I didn't. I just.
Do you know any German?
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch.
Wie viel kosten das? Do you know what wie viel
Wo ist
kosten?
the resting room?
Wo ist?
Wo ist? So.
Yeah.
So, I could have done it and been fluent, but I didn't.
So then Pop got out of the Army and went back to Missouri and got a job at Merrill Lynch. And he worked at Merrill Lynch for 36 years. We ended up here, and you know the rest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't y'all write letters? I remember a couple years ago y'all told me how you met. And you said something about letters, like how you guys wrote letters back and forth.
A lot of them. when you were in, did we write letters when you were in Louisville? I think we did.
I think we did. But I wrote to you, gosh, 3 or 4 times a week
Yeah.
when I was in
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, we wrote
Do you
constantly.
still have the letters?
Yes.
No, you
So-
may not. Were you asking to read them?
No, I was curious.
No.
Be curious a little longer.
No. No, they're private.
Okay.
But I still remember your address, 808 Richmond Avenue, Columbia, Missouri,
Yeah.
6 something.
I thought it was 38401.
That was say it again.
38401?
That's just Columbia.
Oh, that's Columbia, Tennessee.
No wonder none of my letters got it.
Not Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah.
Huh, what was the zip code there?
Where?
Columbia, Missouri.
I don't remember.
I don't either. Okay. And then Uncle Bob was born, and your mother was born, and Aunt Becky was born 1972, 1977, and 1980.
True.
All in St. Louis.
Guess what we needed a car. I didn't need a car until Nana came over after she graduated. And we bought I think it was a 63
Oh, was it?
Buick, Volkswagen Beetle. Guess what I paid for it?
$500.
$250.
No way.
$250.
And then when we had to leave Germany, he sold it for how much?
$260.
You couldn't even buy a junky guitar for that.
That's true. Yeah, one tire cost that.
Insane.
True.
We had our some stuff stolen out of our car in Paris. We went to tell the police, and all they did was flirt with your mother, your grandmother.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we didn't get it back either. They didn't steal the car; they just stole the stuff in it.
Yeah, and I
What
don't.
did they steal?
Well, I think it was our passports.
I don't think so.
We
We
had to
wouldn't
go.
have left those in the car.
Well, I can't imagine we would, but we had to go to the embassy.
You've mentioned that before. I don't remember that at all. I remember being in the police station. So, that's the story. And the man who, when we went to Plantation Ball, Penguin, I'm losing my train of thought. You're going to meet the man who was my roommate in college.
Yes,
What was his name? What did it?
David Bradley. He's coming to the party.
Oh, I think I've heard of him before.
He's
Yeah.
a
Wait,
really
and
nice
what was your name in college? Was
Oh,
it
his
Bobhead?
nickname?
rughead.
Rughead.
And you know why?
Because your hair.
No,
was
because his
rug.
hair. It was like a rug.
Next time you're in the tack room, look, they're hanging there's paddles. And when you got initiated into the fraternity, I don't think the girls did this, but the boys got smacked in the butt with a wooden paddle. And that paddle is hanging in the tack room.
Yeah.
Wait, what did you say to Nana? There was one time you told me that Nana said she wanted to marry a prince or something.
Oh, this was so funny. Jane, my birthday and Prince, now King Charles, is exactly on the same day. We were born, both of us, December 15, 1948. And I always thought I'd be a princess and I would marry into royalty, which is why I majored in French. This is all true. A little nutty, I'm happy to admit it, but I think I was a little nutty. So, because French is the international language, I thought, well, if I'm going to be a princess living in Europe, I need to know the international language, so I majored in French. I bought all kinds of magazines and to see who was available. And I read all about all of the families, important families in Europe, and I discovered that Prince Charles and I are exactly the same age, and I figured, I guess I'm going to be marrying him, I thought. So I told Pop after he asked me to marry him, I said, well, I was going to become a princess and marry Prince Charles. And he said, well, I'm the King of Sullivan and the Prince of Stanton, which is, Sullivan was his hometown, and the neighboring town was Stanton.
It wasn't even a town. It was like Burwood.
Well,
it was called Bourbon.
So he said, I'm the King of Sullivan. So, in other words, you're royalty, now you're marrying me.
Meeting your goals.
That was cute. That was a very clever, witty answer, I thought. I must have laughed. But I'd already told you I'd marry you by then.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
So, all the places that we traveled in the Army, what was your favorite?
Well, I pretty much loved Heidelberg, right where we lived, because it was beautiful, clean, charming, and quaint, and I love quaint.
It wasn't bombed during the Second World War.
Oh, was it? Why not? I wonder.
I know, but I've forgotten.
Paris, when we were there, was still lovely and beautiful. Paris was extra spiffy, too. It's not as spiffy anymore.
Was it like touristy when you were there?
It was just absolutely charming. Actually, all of Europe was just so charming. I lived in Europe as a child with my parents in the 50s, and Europe was really special then. Pop and I were there in the late 60s, and it still was nifty. When I went back with your mother, and then Aunt Becky, and then I've gone back with Pop, it's just not what it used to be. It's just not quaint and charming, and it's not even that clean anymore. So that's our whole story.
Is there any other
Tidbits?
story? Yeah.
I'm thinking about places we traveled.
In Europe?
Yeah.
What was your favorite place?
You mean when we were in the Army?
Mm-hmm.
Going to Normandy, I think.
Yeah. Did we go to the beaches then too? We did. Yeah, there was still stuff out on the beaches when we went in the 60s. Yeah.
So when you were in the Army, there was you just helped connect families?
I did the paperwork. I didn't do the looking for them.
And it was just by chance that you were picked to do that?
Mm-hmm. That's when I was supposed to go to Vietnam, and Nana touched on it. I got to California, and they were going to give us all our combat gear. And there's two big formations of people, one over here, and then there's a smaller one, and I was in that one. And I thought I heard the guy call my name. So I sneaked over and said, "Sir, did you call my name?" And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Shaffer, Robert B." He said, "Where you been?" And if I had not heard him call my name, when I first got there, they give you jobs to do while you're waiting. Mm-hmm. And my job was to clean the bathrooms.
Was it really?
Yeah. And that's when I was cleaning the bathrooms, I should have been in a different formation. I heard it but I guess I wasn't paying attention. And at that, when the guy says, "Who are you?" He said, I forget how he said. Well, this is how he said it. He was a major, and when people get to be higher ranks during wartime, just because people die and get killed, and so you get to gosh darn it. You get more of a higher rank usually in wartime. Well, this guy was a major, which is an older guy as a major. Tells me his career isn't going very well because he shouldn't have been a major. He should have been higher. So he got all of us who were going to go to Germany. He said, we're having a meeting here tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. He said, those of you who are here on time will head east, which was
to Germany.
Those of you who are here late will continue west, which is Vietnam. So if you missed it, basically,
if you slept in,
if I'd have slept in, I'd have continued.
Did anybody miss the call?
No, everybody's there real early. And another thing I saw, funny but it's not, there's a I was basically out of the Army. They were flying me from. Everybody on this plane is getting out of the Army in about 2 days. Mm-hmm. Well, there were two guys that got on the plane, and they just thought they were the stuff. And this really polite sergeant says, "Boys, have a seat, keep your mouth shut. 2 days you'll be out of the Army." "Well, you can't send me to the Army." Listen to me. Sit down, be quiet, and in 2 days you'll be out of the Army. "Well, you can't say that to me." They weren't on the plane.
They kicked him off?
Yeah. So they may be still in Fort Leavenworth, who knows?
Were you scared?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was at Fort Knox getting ready to go to Vietnam, before we got married, they put you through orientation for going to Vietnam, and when they show you a little cobra in the room, get your attention.
A live cobra?
Yep. I mean, they had a hold of him the whole time.
Oh.
And then there was another part, it's like being in the woods, and they had guys up in trees, seeing if you could find them, pick them out. Get your attention. So yeah, I was scared. Wow. I mean, there's a lot of 50,000 people got killed in Vietnam.
Is that how many it was?
A little more.
And then how do you feel about it all?
When I thought he was going to Vietnam?
Yeah.
I cried when he took off to go. I was 19. No, I was 20. So I was just pretty young and kind of dumb.
Crazy. You were married.
He asked me to marry him when I was 19. Yes.
So that would be me in 3 years.
I know, Jane. He should have been arrested. He should have been sent to jail.
Well, it also shows that my generation is just
lazy. You don't even think about getting married young, but people did. I mean, Kay McCoy got married at 14.
How about that?
14.
How old's Anna?
Anna's 11.
11. Henry's 14.
Ugh.
Yeah, think of that. People got married young.
Ugh.
So
Henry
19
married.
wasn't crazy. My older sister got married at 19 or 20 also. But I was just so young, Jane. I was too stupid to be too upset. I mean, I cried and I was upset and I missed him terribly. But when I think back that I got married that young, we were both too young. We were both so stupid. We were both self-centered. Oh, we both had so much to learn. Oh my goodness. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, still.
Oh my gosh. We were so young and stupid. We kind of
Now
grew
we're
up
just young.
together. What?
Now we're just young. We're not young.
No, we're just
left
stupid.
over with stupid.
We're just stupid, but now we're old and stupid. But actually, we're smarter than we used to be.
Have to be. Only one way.
Well, we might not.
Our last, Nana went back like, a week earlier than I did from, and so we had our last meal in Germany, and Nana had cordon bleu,
Or Wiener Schnitzel mit Pommes frites und Salat.
French fries.
My favorite.
You had wine, and I had a big meal, and it was $5.
Oh wow. Was that to you like cheap?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was
Were you
cheap.
like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
good deal? Or
That was even cheap to us.
Yeah.
We were really poor.
Back then, you got the German. We have the dollar, and they had the mark.
Yeah.
And 1 mark.
Well, a dollar was
got
4
you
marks.
4 marks. So we got gasoline for like 10 cents on the gallon, maybe less. No, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, but what was your salary a month when you were in the Army?
$200.
$200 a month. We lived on
I
that.
get that in like a week and
Yeah.
a half.
I know. We lived
That'll
on
be too
it.
much.
We traveled on $200 a month. I don't know how we did what we did on How much was our rent for our apartment a month?
I don't know. I used to think it was $90, but I don't think it could be.
I don't know what it was. I have no recollection. I don't think I paid it. You must have taken care of it. I have no recollection.
I don't either. Well, I don't think we were ever late.
I have no recollection of everyone paying, so I'm sure you didn't. But I didn't spend any money. I just bought a little bit of food.
She's been making up for that for a few years.
Yes.
Wait, did you have a job at the time?
You know, I did not, and I often wonder about that. Why didn't I get a job? I could have gotten a job.
You could have.
I don't know why I didn't. In fact, since I married Pop, well, I taught school 1 year, and I only
Why just
worked
1 year?
because I got pregnant, and Uncle Bob was born, and I wanted to stay home and raise him myself. So once I started having children, I didn't go back to work. And I've never regretted that, not for a split second.
Yeah.
I loved staying at home. I was very busy at home.
Yeah. What was it like, because I've only ever experienced like being really close in age to my siblings. What's it like to raise kids with like such age gaps?
Delightful. Because it's like I had one baby at a time and I could devote all my attention to each one. Was able to give each one what they needed. I wanted to do it that way. Now, a lot of my friends wanted to have babies every 2 years. That would have been a lot for me to do because my personality is such that I just want to do one thing, keep it orderly. And when you have a bunch of children close together, you just have to, order goes out the window and you just have to just cope. And I wanted to enjoy each one at a time, and I did.
That makes sense.
It was delightful. I wish I'd had 6. I wanted to have 6 children.
6.
But yes, I did. I loved having children. I got pregnant easily. I gave birth easily, and I loved what I did. I loved having children. The more, the better.
You were good at it.
Well, Thank
Well,
you.
how do we wrap this up? Oh, it's not my job to wrap it up.
It's her thing.
All right. So has everybody said everything? Is there anything else anyone wants to add?
Well, would you change anything?
As it has to do with what?
Our courtship and our marriage?
Well, it all ended up well. So if I had not gotten out, if I stayed in that formation,
Yeah.
who knows? So,
Well, I can say one thing I would have changed.
what?
It would have been nice if you had proposed to me face to face and said something very, very romantic.
Didn't have the money. I had no money.
I know, but
I made that call from the Ford plant.
because he couldn't afford long distance, you used to have to pay extra for long distance. It was expensive.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So that's why you did it that way.
Yeah, they had a Watts line. Remember the Watts line?
That's all you could afford.
That wasn't, no, that was on Ford.
Well, I married him. He was poor as a church mouse, but I didn't care.
Wow. What made you say yes? Like,
Why did I
that
say
moment?
yes? But after I'm dating him for a year,
Yeah.
he was always just such a gentleman and fun, but mostly because he was he wasn't angry. He never very peaceful. He was peaceful, and my father was always kind of borderline angry all the time, and it was kind of scary living around someone like that, and I swore I would never be around someone like that, or certainly not marry someone like that. So Pop was always, he doesn't have a temper.
Yeah.
In fact, I've only really seen him get angry one time.
When was that?
Well, that was a kick. It was just once. I don't even really remember why he got angry, but he got angry with me about something, and all he did was, we had a basement, and down in that basement was a wooden barrel, like a rain barrel, and he went down in the basement and he had a crowbar, and he just beat the thing to pieces. That's a good thing to do when you get angry. You take it out on something else. You don't take it out on a person, you take it out on a something. Because anger is an energy, and you just have to get it out. It's not healthy to keep it in and push it down. That'll make you sick. So you have to get it up and you have to get it out. And he went down into the basement, and I heard this big noise. I didn't know what was going on. Crowbar. I thought it was a crowbar.
I used to remember what we found in the basement.
Yeah, the sword. Mm-hmm. But
What sword?
the man who built the house we were living in at the time, his name was General Percy Carroll. He was General MacArthur's, the General MacArthur of World War II, his personal physician. He was a medical doctor, but he was also a general in the army. And so he traveled with General MacArthur just to take care of his health, because he was a doctor. Well, when he got out of the army, he moved to St. Louis, and he built a very fine brick house and lived in it for I don't know how long, but they got old. They put themselves in a nursing home, he and his wife. They had had no children, and they put their house on the market, and we bought it. Well, I was down in the basement cleaning up, getting ready to store some things in the basement, and I was cleaning off a bookshelf, and at the very top in the very back was a sword, and it was a beautiful sword with decoration on it. And I showed it to Pop, and he called General Carroll and said, "We found a sword, and I'm sure you would like to have it back." And so Pop drove it over to him and gave it to him. And then General Carroll explained that that sword had been on his side when he chased Pancho Villa across the desert in Texas, I think it was, toward Mexico. Pancho Villa was a famous criminal, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I didn't even know General Carroll had chased Pancho Villa across
I didn't know that.
the land, but that sword was on his side when he rode horseback chasing Pancho Villa. Wow. So that was pretty interesting. But he was General MacArthur's personal physician.
He also, have you ever seen the television show MASH?
I've heard of it.
He invented all the MASH units.
I did not know that. He was really smart.
Yeah, little bitty guy.
He was my size. He wasn't any bigger than I was.
Wait, like, so like 5'2"? 5'2"?
Up 5'5".
Oh, he's bigger now, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. I looked him straight in the eye. He was so small.
Well,
And he was thin,
Yes,
really
he was.
thin.
And this guy was like a general?
Yes.
Well, he wasn't at the time they were chasing Pancho Villa.
No, probably not. But he was a general. When he was General MacArthur's personal
So was he
physician.
was he strong?
No,
General Carroll?
no, you could have
Probably not.
beat him up.
Yeah.
We bought the house, and after we bought it, we hadn't closed yet. I got cold feet and wanted to.
Got nervous about spending that much money.
So I said, "You have your house inspected before you the sale is final, and if it doesn't meet, if it's got things wrong with it,
You can back out.
that you can back out." So when they inspected the house, it
was really well built.
had some issues, and the air conditioner, like our unit, the pad that it sits on had a crack in it, and there was some little bitty rot in the screened-in porch. So I said to myself, I can get out of this now. And so I went over to his house. We stood in the door, and I said, "General Carroll, we can't afford to, there's some things wrong, and we're kind of tight. We don't have a lot of extra money. So we just can't go through with this." And I explained to him what it was, and he said, how did he put it? He said,
I said, I'll take care of all of it.
and I expected him to say, "Oh, okay." He says, if you have a problem, you can fix it, and then you still have to go through with the deal." And he said, "Yeah, I'll take care of those things." And I'm thinking, now I can't get out. And by the way, he had been in the Philippines, and he had
Beautiful porch. It had a screen-in porch.
But what was it he had on the porch?
Handmade rattan furniture. It was beautiful. Oh, wow. And he asked us if we wanted to buy it because he wasn't going to use it. And it was probably handmade for that porch. And it was really spectacular.
Did he buy it?
And Pop said, "I can't afford to buy it from you." And he said, "Well, then I'll just give it to you." It was really, I wish I still had it.
I tried that on a rug he had up in our bedroom. It was a
Oriental rug.
Oriental rug, had a lot of black in it, but he didn't offer to give that to me.
Wait, which house was this?
Number 40 Briarcliff.
When you go up the steps,
we've got a picture of it hanging.
Ladue, St. Louis.
Is that the one that had? There was one that was like part of like the Underground Railroad. Right?
Oh no, that was Sundown Farm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty nifty too.
Yeah.
The best built house we've ever lived in was General Carroll's house, 40 Briarcliff. It was a fine, well built.
Where some people use nails, most people use nails to build a house. He used bolts, nuts and bolts.
Oh wow!
I don't know if a hurricane could even have taken it down. It was so well built.
We paid $95,000 for that house.
How many square feet?
Probably 3,500.
But only 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
And
It-
how close to like downtown St. Louis is this?
It was about 5 miles. It was very close. It was.
That would sell for millions.
Well, today we looked. It's probably about $2 million today.
Jeez.
I know.
Y'all should have just kept it.
Yeah,
We should have kept every house we ever
Yeah.
bought except
true.
the one in Dallas.
Yeah.
What was wrong with that?
It was new, brand new. It wasn't.
It was not in the market, and the market was not doing great.
I didn't like it. It was too shiny and sparkly and too modern.
Yeah.
I just didn't. But we had to have something, so we grabbed it. It was okay for a while we were there.
Yeah, how many bedrooms did it have? 6?
That house? No. Oh,
Where was I?
1, 2, 3, 4. It had 5. And we never have had a house with 6 bedrooms. Most we've ever had is 5.
Well, there's the one that the girls each had one. Rob had one. That's 3. You and I had one. That's 4. And then that
Quarters.
Yeah, you go through the closet.
Quarters. 5. I have to go to bed.
Okay. We're wrapping up this episode of my interview with Nana and Pop. We'll see you in the next one.